learning takes place, and to learners' interactive relationship with that context and with the learning activity itself. We look at how the social structure influences what is offered and who participates, how the sociocultural context creates particular developmental needs and interests, and how social factors, such as race, class, and gender, shape learning. This book is intended primarily for educators of adults and scholars of adult learning. We have organized the material so that it will make sense to listeners who are new to adult education, and at the same time will challenge those who are already familiar with the knowledge base of the field. The organization and presentation of this material reflect our efforts over the years to find the best way to organize courses, workshops, and seminars in adult learning, and development for audiences with varying levels of expertise. We have endeavored to put together a book that is at once thorough and up-to-date in its coverage. In particular, the book is designed for use in courses in adult learning and as a resource for those interested in conducting research on adult learning. In addition to those associated with the field of adult education itself, however, those in counseling, health, social work, human resource development, administration, and instructional technology, and in such institutions as libraries, places of worship, museums, business and industry, and higher education, often deal on a daily basis with adult learners. We also intend this book to be a resource for practitioners in these fields who would like to know more about adult learners and the learning process. Overview of the contents. This fourth edition of Learning in Adulthood retains the organization of topics found in the previous edition. That is, in the third edition, we realized that in most courses using this text, the chapters specific to adult learning theory and models were read before chapters on cognitive development, intelligence and aging, and psychosocial developmental frameworks. We have organized accordingly. This edition is divided into 4 parts. Part 1 describes the context of adult learning. Part 2 focuses on theories and models of adult learning. The chapters in Part 3 address newer approaches to adult learning, and those in Part 4 present material on topics that intersect with adult learning, such as memory and cognition, adult development, and so on. The chapters in Part 1, Adult Learning in Contemporary Society, center on the context of adult learning. Chapter 1 sets the sociocultural context for adult learning in North America. In it, we discuss 3 forces, demographics, globalization, and technology, that have shaped adult learning today. It is important to understand how the interaction of those 3 factors has led to changes in both what adults want to learn and the learning opportunities provided for them. Chapter 2 is a new chapter devoted to the ubiquitous presence of technology in all forms of adult education, from formal to non-formal to informal and self-directed learning environments. Directly related to the sociocultural context of adult learning are the environments where learning takes place, the subject of Chapter 3. These range from educational and non-educational institutions, such as hospitals and government agencies, to non-formal and community-based agencies, to incidental and informal learning that is more self-directed than structured by others. Also in this chapter, we explore the concepts of organizational learning and the learning organization, lifelong learning, and the learning society. The 4th chapter in Part 1 summarizes the literature on who participates in primarily formal adult learning activities, why people participate, and what they choose to learn. We also take a critical look at key questions of access and opportunity, and examine the gaps between the rhetoric and the reality in the provision of formal and non-formal learning activities in our society. Part 2, Adult Learning Theory, builds on foundational material in adult learning, material that is at the heart of our field of adult education. The topics covered in these chapters represent the field's efforts in distinguishing itself from the education of